did so.
Good afternoon. It is Friday, January 16th, 2026. Happy New Year to everybody. This is a regular meeting of the Commissioners of the City of Rehoboth Beach. We're live in the City Hall Commissioners Room on the second floor. I'd like to call this meeting to order at exactly 2 o'clock p.m. Would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In lieu of roll call, we'll let the record show that the mayor's here, as well as the other commissioners. Note that the two absent commissioners today are Commissioner Suzanne Good and Susan Stewart. Otherwise, we have a quorum and are able to formally conduct business today. I'd like to thank everybody that's watching virtually. I'd also like to thank our in-person members of the city for being here today. As you know, we welcome comments different times throughout the meeting. There's guidance at the bottom of the agenda that shows what the guidelines are for participating in comments. We'd like to remind everybody that support documents, those are documents that support the agenda items, are available online in the electronic version of the agenda. We have no proclamation. So we're going to go next to correspondence. I have no correspondence. We're going to go to approval of minutes. We have an unusually large number. We're getting caught up. We have 18 sets of minutes. Are there any corrections to any of the minutes? Because I'd like to vote on these if possible as a slate. If there's no corrections, then could I get I'm not going to read them this time, but the motion would incorporate approving the slate of 18 minutes before us.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve a slate of 18 sets of minutes before us today. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, and those 18 sets of minutes are approved. Thank you very much. With that, we'll move on to the city manager's report. Taylor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. Good afternoon. As you know, we've started our budget meetings. The first one was held this morning where the 2027 budget was presented along with the capital budget and the schedule of fees and penalties. Our next budget meeting is scheduled for February 9th. Over the past few months, there's been a lot of discussion about possible changes to the Bandstand Summer Concert Series schedule. At the December 19th Commissioners meeting, it was approved that city staff would explore making a schedule change in 2026. At that time, no specific dates were discussed as those decisions were left to staff. Now, we have made adjustments to two specific weekends. For the last weekend in June, we'll be testing the addition of a Thursday concert on June 25th. We will eliminate the Friday, June 26th show while keeping the Saturday and Sunday concerts as scheduled. Additionally, we will keep our regular concerts on Friday, July 17th, Saturday, July 18th, but there will be no concert on Sunday, July 19th. These changes allow us to experiment with a midweek Thursday concert. They also return two of the busiest concert nights to local businesses, Sunday, which is typically the third busiest night, and Friday, which is the second busiest. We'll heavily publicize these changes and work closely with the Chamber and Main Street to help businesses track and understand the impact of this adjusted schedule with the tools available to us. That concludes my report for today, and I'm here for any questions.
Thank you, Taylor. Have we given any thought into how we're going to evaluate these changes?
Yes.
Can you share?
Sure.
Is it going to be?
So through our data from Placer, we're able to see the foot traffic of the specific area, the specific businesses, and we can compare that, the past 7 years of data, we can completely compare that to how these changes have changed this specific concert night year over year, and hopefully this will give us enough data to see if this is prudent to make further changes.
Sounds good. Patrick?
Yeah, thank you very much for that information. Just one point on data collection. It is difficult to base a decision on 1 year's metrics. And if we find that there is a change or there's indication that this is made a difference in somehow, I would strongly support us looking at least 2 years of data to make a final decision. Making a decision based on 1 year metrics is just not advisable when you look at how major corporations do evaluations of products. So I would strongly suggest that we look not only at this year and 2 years. I mean, if you look at aspects, it's really a 3-year portal, a window that one should look at to make final decisions such as this, but I don't know that we could extend ourselves into 3 years, but I would at least look at 2 years, even though we have historical data, but with the changes to look forward at least for 2 years.
It's an excellent point. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? If not, we'll move right along.
Sorry, one other question. I noticed some construction or what have you on the boardwalk on the light poles. Is that, could you share with us what's happening or?
Sure. So on the boardwalk, it could be one of two things. So we do have our new security cameras that have been installed. Apple Electric was finishing up the electric work on some of the poles that did not have electric on them. And then also we have the 4 luminaires on order to put 2 test dark sky compliant luminaires on the boardwalk and 2 on Rehoboth Avenue. But I don't believe that has started yet, so it's most likely the electric on the poles.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. With that, we'll move right along to City Solicitor's report. Lisa?
No report. Mayor.
No report. Departmental reports, departmental briefing, and the investment report. We're missing. We'll come back to that. Board and commission reports. I guess we didn't get any. Committee reports. There's none identified. You don't have, you're not doing a report?
Can I do a verbal one?
Yeah, what we'll need to do is want to list it in the future on here, but go ahead.
And Mayor, I want to apologize to, the community. I did have a report. I was late submitting it, so it did not make it to the agenda. I will make sure that it makes it to the agenda in the future. So just a quick update on the Environmental Advisory Committee. At our last meeting, which was a week ago today on the 9th, the committee did review the community lighting ordinance. We had previously been calling this dark sky. We've renamed it to community lighting. A couple of things that I'll point out. One is we're going to have a very strong emphasis on educating the stakeholders in this community on selecting and equally importantly, properly installing exterior lights that will illuminate their yard, but eliminate unnecessary, harmful, and nuisance illumination of their neighboring properties, right? So that's a big focus of this. As far as the ordinance itself, we spent a lot of time during the meeting walking through a draft ordinance. We're going to meet again on the 25th of February, finalize that ordinance. There's a couple outstanding items, at which point we will forward it to city administration for review and subsequent presentation to the Board of Commissioners for consideration.
Do you want to hold this for the next meeting or embed this?
Let's embed it in this meeting
After
because
the
I'll
fact.
have an update, may have a different update at the next meeting. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. With that, we're going to go back to the departmental briefing, the investment report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Taylor will give it.
So for financial year 2026, we have earned $959,000 in investments from our treasury bills. For FY26, we budgeted just over 1.1 million. So we only have 142,000 remaining for FY26. So reasonably, we will come in over budget on our investment income from the treasury bills in this fiscal year, which is a positive thing. But I'm here for any questions you may have about the report.
Any questions? If not, thank you, Taylor. Appreciate that. We'll move on to Community partner reports, you'll see embedded in the agenda is something from Main Street and the Public Library. Did we not get something from the chamber? No, okay, not spanking you.
Mayor,
Yes,
if I may, just curious on that. I don't know that there's a specific process, what have you, on collecting those community partner reports, but we haven't heard from a couple of our support groups in a while. So I was just curious if there's a reminder, or is there's an obligation for those individuals to report on a monthly basis, or is there anything set that we can remind folks of? I think it's interesting to know what is going on with those organizations within the city, and this is the proper area to share that, so.
yeah, well, first of all, there is no obligation. It's kind of an expectation, but I think what I'll do is remind them in an email in the next week or so, before the next meeting, so that, plus I'd like to remind them of what the time frame is. You know, we're asking for submittals sooner than later, you know, than we've been doing it. So I'll follow through on that.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that, old business. Discuss potential amendments to the provisions of the Rehoboth Beach Charter. We have embedded in the agenda what we're going to be referencing. And what we're really talking about tonight are, I guess, substantive changes to the charter, not the charter in entirety. I'm going to turn it over to Lisa to explain a little bit about what our process is going to be, how we've gotten to this point, and what the expectation is to conclude today's meeting.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I just want to be clear that what I put in front of all of you and what is put out to the public is difficult to understand. Legislation, as we amend it, the strikeouts and the additions, and it is convoluted. So what I would like to do is focus our conversation today on the substantive changes in the legislation in those areas that we have previously discussed, areas where there has been substantial consensus about what should be changed in the charter. Yes, there are considerable technical corrections to conform existing law to the standards of the Delaware Legislative Drafting Manual, reordering of paragraphs. I'm sorry. Fixing tabulation and editing outdated or unclear language. So admittedly, that will be an additional work in progress. I would like to go through the substantive changes one by one or answer any questions however you'd like me to proceed, but I think I'll just go forward. May I draw your attention to line 36? Line 36 begins the discussion of changing the procedure for setting salaries for the commissioners and the mayor. If you recall, the salaries were only to be discussed at the organizational meeting, that first September meeting following the election. Now salaries will be set by ordinance. At any point in time that the commissioners seek to make that change, an ordinance can be passed. And if the salaries are increased, there will be a delayed effective date, the latter of the starting date of newly elected commissioners, or 6 months after the adoption of the ordinance. I believe that one of the things we talked about was that there should not be any sort of self-interested actions on behalf of the commissioners, and so that is the delayed date. Are there any questions? All right, I will move on to line 113.
Forgive me. If any members of the public want to comment on one of these, then raise your hand if you would, please. Number 2.
All right, line 113. There's been much discussion about the increasing of fines. And so this particular provision would increase the maximum fine for violating ordinances from $500 to $2,500, and it will be changed throughout the charter. There are several places where it is noted in that manner.
Question, if any?
Commissioner Gossett, go ahead.
Line 113, it says the mayor may not impose a fine and penalty in excess of fixed, not questioning the powers of the mayor, but should that not be the mayor and commissioners? I'm just curious as to such a major aspect of the ordinance, which reflects throughout the ordinance of the entire charter. I'm just curious.
I think that comes to a question of the powers that the mayor has, one of which is fines and imprisonment. Now that we have the Alderman's Court, the discussion about removing the mayor's, forgive me, sir, ability to imprison. But we would then also discuss the ability to impose a fine, and perhaps that language could be altered as well. If it remains as mayor, you're right, it should say mayor and commissioners. If it is removed, there would simply not be the ability of the mayor to impose a fine.
Go ahead.
Okay, line 159. If I recall, and again, this was some time ago, the discussion regarding this particular section was that we would remove the requirement that auditors of accounts be city residents. That became difficult. More discussion with Evan, however, I would suggest that this language should be further revised than what is presently here to simply denote that the city of Rehoboth shall retain an independent auditor, an individual or a firm, and that that auditor shall deliver an annual report to the audit committee. Much of this language would remain the same, but that we would not have 3 independent auditors. It would simply say that the mayor and commissioners shall retain an independent auditor of accounts.
Strongly support that change. And does that, I'm curious as to, that is how the charter is outlined, but we also have an audit committee. And I don't believe the audit committee is actually addressed in the charter or in the code for, this is kind of what the audit committee evolved into based on the language of shall appoint 3 independent. So if we do make this change, which I support, of an outside certified public accountant firm, independent firm, then we do create some language, if necessary, to establish or codify the audit committee themselves or their roles and responsibilities, because they've been functioning for many, many years. But these 2 processes have been done over the years, but it has evolved with new consideration of government standards and what have you of having an independent certified public accounting firm to do the audit. So if we could explore those, just a definition of what the audit committee is responsible for in addition to having a independent auditor annual audit of the city books.
Certainly, I think also we should review whether or not this should be included in the charter or in an ordinance or in some manner, simply because obviously the difficulty that we're having in
Right. My suggestion would be that the aspect of an independent audit should be part of the charter.
Yes.
The audit committee should go into an ordinance or some sort of policy and procedures. We've established other committees, standing committees. The code does, or the charter does provide that the mayor can establish standing committees. The only committees that are spelled out in the charter itself, or our code rather, is Planning Commission, Board of Adjustments, Parks and Shade Tree. So,
Certainly, we'll take a look.
thank you.
Let me just back up
I've
for a
got a
second.
member of the public that would like to, are you going to comment on auditors?
No, go ahead, let Collins.
Your name and relationship to the city?
Collins Roth, city resident,
That's fine.
live on the boardwalk. Just a brief note on that. In my own private sector approach as an investor in businesses would be that an auditor should turn over every several years, maybe 5, maybe 3, whatever it might be. So you don't end up with one firm that's protecting its own interests for time. And you might, I didn't see that in there. You might consider that as a, if you're making a change like this, you might consider that as a 5-year, if there is another auditor available, you turn over to a new party. Thanks.
Thank you, Collins.
Mayor, if I could.
Commissioner Thayer?
Great suggestion. I like that one. We should add it. I want to make sure I'm following here. Right now, we use one independent auditor, and we have an audit committee, right? Are we changing that? Right, because right now we use Barbicane.
So it would be 3 auditors, from example, Barbicane and Thornton, is what this means, or intended to mean.
No, I think, so at the way the charter is worded, okay, we would have auditors who were residents of the city. And when this started, the change was that we didn't have that. We don't have that. So we were using an independent auditor, Barbicane. Now
Okay.
we're just codifying that as a,
Let's back up a second, right?
We're going
So-
to continue to use independent auditors.
yes.
Okay, so these, we shall appoint 3 independent auditors.
No, what I'm saying is this language is actually incorrect.
Okay, so what I'm reading on line 159 is incorrect.
Yes, and it just, as a result of Commissioner Gossett, this was discussed, you know, since this went out.
Okay,
That
okay.
this is in fact not,
Okay, that's
Gonna work.
that's fine.
Yes.
That's fine. Okay, great. Yeah. So and I you know, I'm reading this.
No, I
Patrick
understand.
speaking, and it's just not all gelling together. So okay, so just to be clear, one independent auditor. Are we keeping the audit committee?
yes,
3 people on the audit committee.
yes.
And then I would like to add the suggestion by Mr. Roth that we roll this over every few years. 3 years is probably good. Taylor, what's your experience been?
Typically, cities retain an auditor for maximum of 5 years. I've seen 6, but 5 is typically the max.
Okay. So what are you comfortable with?
I would be comfortable putting in 5 years, and we've had the same one for quite some time, so we were already looking at this anyway. So.
Okay, all right.
All right.
Okay,
Thank you.
line 190. This would give the city the option to adopt county tax assessments for annual and supplemental municipal taxes. The city may still choose to make its own assessments. This is not, we are not saying, to be clear, that we are adopting Tyler or anyone else. We're not doing anything. This would simply allow us to have the opportunity to do it, should that be the will of the commissioners.
And so I want to add in there that one of our pieces of correspondence received by a constituent was debating this. And we're not entering that letter into the record for now. It will be in the future because it's not relevant to the charter change.
Okay. Line 290. This would change the deadlines for drafting a budget and for adopting tax rates to March. The discussion was that this lines up better with the current fiscal year that begins April 1st. Okay, line 424. No, that's wrong. Oh, yes, I'm sorry, yes. Removing the minimum valuation of real estate or improvements subject to assessment. Currently, only real estate and improvements worth at least $1,000 are assessed.
No, question. Are we
Go
removing
ahead.
it completely to 0? Is that what are we to assume then that there is no minimum?
Yes.
And am I reading this or interpreting this? This is only addressing leaseholders. Should it not address property owners? Or I'm curious as to why this specifically calls out leaseholders, which I'm not totally understanding.
Line 423 mentions leaseholders, right?
I will,
Yeah, it reads as owner to whom the real estate is assessed or a leaseholder who owns land under a valid lease term.
yes,
Because if I'm
both.
carry this through. If I'm leasing something, I'm not, it may be a triple net lease that it comes through me, but it's billed through the property owner, not the leaseholder, correct?
Except there are some specific use cases, like the city has a couple properties that have land leases, and we do not pay the property tax on the improvements on that land lease because it's not ours. Think of the property on Rehoboth Avenue that we have a land lease. So,
But those are exceptions, not the rule, correct?
right, but this would fall under this option of both owners and leaseholders. I think this is also a very rare case that anything is under $1,000, but there could be accessory structures or
Right.
other things.
I'm not questioning that. I think the 1,000 should be removed.
But we'll confirm the language.
Okay, thank you.
All right, line 544. Changing the cap on annual taxes from 3 million as a number to 0.15% of the fully assessed value of all real estate in the city.
Line number again, I'm sorry.
544.
Thanks.
Do we want to talk about this now?
Sure.
Okay, great. Mayor, if I could, please.
Yes, Commissioner Thayer?
Thank you. So, a couple issues I have. First of all, to be clear, I'm not opposed to changing this to a percentage of the fully assessed value. What it would bring to us is the commissioners no longer have to be concerned about a cap as the tax base organically or naturally increases with new developments, improvements, so on and so forth. So I'm not opposed to changing this to a percentage. My two issues are, one, what should the percentage be? And number two is that if we're going to change it to a percentage, then I want to remove any references to or any ability to choose between Sussex County's tax base and our tax base. And the reason being is that, at least the way I'm interpreting this being written, is if we change to Sussex County, the total tax base in this city will probably double. Let's assume it's going to go up at least 50%. So that would move this cap at 0.15%. 0.15% means we're going to take, I don't want to say means, but for calculation perspective, I'm saying a lot here, right? Right now the cap is 3 million. The 0.15% that's being proposed takes it to a little over 5.3 million. If we're to include the charter change that allows the city to go from our current tax assessment, which is done independently, move to Sussex County assessment, which would result in the total assessment being at least 50% more, probably more, that 5 million becomes 8 or 9 million. So I'm not comfortable doing that. So if we're going to go to a percentage, I'm going to want to see that removed. It's something we can address at some point in time in the future. I think that Sussex County is years away from getting their assessments cleaned up, so I don't think it's a concern for us right now. I'd probably say just remove it, period, at this point. Just to kind of throw some numbers out, because you can probably tell from this I don't agree with the 0.15%. Our budget for FY27, the property taxes are going to be 2.68 million, so 2,680,000. As I mentioned, if we adopt that 0.15%, the total assessed valuation in the city is, what is this, 3,575,134,000, which would mean that 3 million would go to 5.3 million. So we're basically raising our cap today, what we can raise taxes from 3 million to 5.3 million, when our budget's only at 2.6 million. Generally, I believe that it should be really difficult to raise taxes, so I'm not comfortable raising to 5.3 million. If we did a number instead of 0.0015%, if we did, and again, let me back up for a second. So the rate today would be 0.000839%. that would give us $3 million, $3 million we have today. So if we did nothing but go to a percentage and keep it at 3 million, instead of 0.15%, it's 0.000839%. If we did something like 0.009%, that would move the cap to 3.2 million, which gives us about $500,000 above where we are today. For additional perspective, let's kind of keep in mind that our budget is only at 2.6 million. We've got a fund balance worksheet here that shows us that we have over $17 million, or we have $17 million in excess of the minimum fund balance that we're allowed to keep. So again, that $17 million, we should we're gonna, at some point in time in this budget process, we're gonna decide to do. So I just don't see a need to be raising taxes anytime in the near future. So to jump to a number like 5.3 million, I can't support that. I could probably be talked into something like 3.2 million, the 0.009, which takes us to 3.2 million. That gives us 500,000, right? Because let's keep in mind, as the development occurs, that's naturally going to increase the cap. Okay, so we don't have to worry about increases to the cap because of ongoing development, whether that's new residential development, improvements, so on and so forth. This is solely going to be related to what this body decides to do in terms of increasing taxes. So I like the percentage because we're no longer have to be concerned about a cap and the organic development, but I don't want to increase it significantly because there's no need to increase taxes anytime in the near future.
Just a few things I want to go over. You're exactly right. The percentage does allow us to capture. So take one Rehoboth development, for example. So that property is going to be greatly increased in assessed value. So that the percentage definitely gives us the flexibility there. I think that's the one main thing that staff has been concerned about, that we will hit that $3 million cap, not through raising taxes, but through the organic growth of all of the different developments in town, and even all of the tear down and rebuilds of larger, more expensive homes. The piece on Sussex County assessments, so Evan would probably have to remind me of when we last did an assessment for the city, but it is very outdated and would give the commissioners the ability to decide whether you wanted to go with Sussex County's evaluation assessments or have us spend money to do our own work. But in our minds, we thought that could potentially save money by not having to do our own assessment. But we will have to do that sooner than later because they are so old and outdated. And again, the power of raising taxes vests with this board, so we're happy to do as you wish. And I believe the 0.15% was a best practice that we found in other cities. So open to your comments.
So I would, open to hear what others have to say. As far as the county, I think I would, at this point in time, I'd prefer to remove that, make that a discussion at some point in time in the future. For a couple of reasons. I think the main reason is if we flip to that, it bumps the cap significantly, and I don't want to allow for that.
There was one other thing that I wanted to add. So if you did adopt another assessment, you would have to adjust the tax rate down to essentially level out what people are paying. Similar to the recent Sussex County's example isn't a wonderful example because I know the majority of your taxes did go up that you're paying to the county, but you could adjust your tax rate down to essentially have people pay the same amount. If
And I'm fine with that as long as that language is included in here. I don't want there to be any assumption that, we can do that. I would want it to be specifically written in here that that's what would have to occur. Okay. As far as the rate, what the rate should be, I'd love to hear what other commissioners feel.
We've got a member of the public who would like to speak. Would you mind? Carolyn?
And I do just want to reiterate that with our FY27 budget, we have no plans for raising taxes, and even in our forecast for the next several years, we have no plans for raising taxes, to my knowledge, so.
But, excuse me.
Go ahead, Mark.
But don't taxes raise themselves? In a sense that we, as the new buildings are built, two new hotels, I mean, it will be raising itself. Newer properties will be added to the tax rolls.
Right, but existing,
But that
Otherwise,
won't,
it wouldn't need to
percentage
count.
won't change.
Right.
but that won't cause property taxes.
No, right, exactly, but that's why we do have a monetary increase each year.
Carolyn?
So Carolyn Diefendorfer, city resident. I would urge you to leave something like this in the charter. It's not a mandate that you're raising taxes, it just gives you that ability. And I would suggest that what you need to do is put something in code that indicates you're only going to make changes in which assessed value is used to coincide with setting of the tax rate that you do each year anyway. Don't have assessed values, say, change January 1, but you don't change the rate until I think you approve that rate in June, and then it goes into effect after that. So those things should coincide. You should never be able, in my mind, to change which assessed value you're going to go with, whether it be the city value or the county value, at a date other than when you set your rate. And I don't think there's, from a residential standpoint and a taxpayer standpoint, when those new properties go online, the services being provided in the city are in theory going to change, and maybe not so much with a commercial property, but you've got the potential for a new residential development over there where the old shopping center is. And when those houses go in, you're going to have more street paving, but also more snow removal, more trash pickup, all that. You need the ability to collect additional property taxes from those people to cover the services they're going to get. So, thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. Anybody else? Back to the table. Commissioner Gaza?
Thank you. I do support a percentage methodology to determine the tax base there. But I also, you'd mentioned the last time a reassessment was done citywide was 2014, so it's 10 years old. Prior to that, it was 1972. So what I would also like to have consideration is including in the charter that a reassessment, a citywide reassessment, would be done every 5 years, every 8 years, every 10 years, so that we don't fall into this position of trying to play catch-up. The state, with the ACLU lawsuit that caused this reassessment statewide, the state charter now reads that a reassessment will be done every 5 years. The county will do it every 5 years. So I think that is necessary for us to be able to keep up the tax base and keep up the assessments, so we don't, again, fall behind 20, 30 years. I mean, it's been 10 years, and there's been quite a bit of changes in development in the city this past 10 years, and there will be more in the next 5 years. So I think that would be incumbent upon us. And again, people look at, taxpayers look at a reassessment, oh my God, my taxes are gonna go up. So it is at times difficult to determine that we need a reassessment, but if it's in the charter, that is, I won't say it's, the weight is taken off of our shoulders, but we've made the decision that this is need to be done, modeling after the state, modeling after the county, modeling after many other municipalities throughout the United States, that this is part of the process to be done. So I think it's just good practice that we also include that as part of the charter. Thank you.
Commissioner Saunders?
I agree with Commissioner Gossett, and I just want to point out, this is what I used to do, that if we do it often enough, every 3 or 4 years, we can do what's called a desktop appraiser or desktop assessment, where there's no visitation required. They simply look at the inflation figures and they do it mathematically out of a computer. And it costs way, way, way less than having a citywide actually assess and go to each house and start from scratch. Worthwhile, is my point.
Also, in doing research into this, I find there are municipalities that also do, if you till, a rotating reassessment, so that the community is divided into X number of sections, if you will, and each section is done every 5 years, but you're doing a reassessment every year. So that, again, it's not the onus of everything coming at one time. You're spread out your appeals, if you will. You'll spread out other, staff time, what have you. So there are different aspects of how this could be managed, but I'm glad you also support the charter change to include a reassessment every 5 years, no matter how we do it.
Mr. Mayor?
There? Up there, and then I'll come to you.
I was just gonna, I don't want to say I was just, I agree with what Commissioner Goss and Commissioner Saunders are saying, that we should consider adding a reassessment, a periodic reassessment. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Galante?
I just want to go on record as saying that I also generally support this charter change. Going from a fixed value to a percentage makes a lot of sense, taking into consideration what is happening in the city between teardowns, Oceanside Reserve, the new hotels. Handicapping our ability to collect taxes is something that I want to be conscious of. And the fact that we have to go to the state to get these charter changes approved, it is a time process. I don't think it makes sense to do it in a small percentage increase. I think the value that is expressed in this charter change that the city solicitor put together makes sense. I think the message to our residents is we are not raising taxes. That's not what is happening here. What is happening here is we are giving ourselves flexibility in our ability to collect taxes up beyond a cap that is currently set by the city charter.
Do you all have enough information to put all this in writing?
Yes, the question would be the percent. There's seemingly support for 1.5%, but I'm wondering if there's other alternative numbers that individuals would perhaps present. We could.
I would consider 0.001, but I won't support the 0.0015. I just want to. The other issue or discussion has been around, do we allow the ability to choose Sussex County? And I'm probably okay with that, provided that we do have language. I don't want there to be any misinterpretation, as long as we have language in there that says, hey, we got to reset the rate.
So are you saying instead of the 0.15%, are you saying 0.1?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
That, I thought you meant 0.001 and I was concerned, so.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I mean, 0.1, which would increase our cap to 3.575 million. Right. And then again, that grows every year based on, the organic growth of the tax base, Oceanside Reserve, One Rehoboth, whatever the case may be. So.
Okay, I think I'm hearing 0.1%, and also with a periodic reassessment of 5 years.
No more than 5 years, in case we decide to do it periodically, as was suggested. Right?
But I think the term 5 years should be in there. How it is done should be up to staff. But
Okay.
Evan, do you recall Todd Lawson saying anything about the state wanting the counties to do it every 5 years?
Yeah, I think that was a requirement.
yes,
So there's a rationale for our 5, if you will.
And when we did have the city reassessment in 2015, I think it was, when the tax rate was set, at the time, I think it was just over $1. And then the city adjusted the tax rate to, the goal was to collect the same amount of revenue after the reassessment as before the reassessment. And we actually collected, I think, just under what we were receiving. And it was
Yeah.
adjusted down to, I think, 5 cents per 100, so.
Right,
Or
right.
4 cents.
Thank you, thank you. Anything else?
Yes, just briefly, as you know, when you go through this, there are several sections that could potentially be removed, references that don't seem to be relevant or serve the intended purpose. Again, Mr. Mayor, forgive me, but we would remove the power you presently have to imprison, unless you are going to
Dang.
imprison me. Line 390, to regulate and control the observance of the Sabbath day. That no longer seems something that we are doing. Similarly, line 391, to establish and regulate pounds. Again, I don't recall we're doing that. And should you all come upon, there are several other references, but I think what I'd like to do is those that seem ones that we just are truly no longer in the business of, they will be removed, and what will come back to you is final piece of legislation for voting at the next meeting.
Yeah, just
You have lots of.
two of the, yeah, no, I appreciate that. Just lines 438 and lines 449 give the state or give the city the ability to establish electricity plant and a gas plant. Again, I think that's, if we were able to do that in the future, these directions would not apply. And there are several other issues in here that I think now are controlled by building codes as opposed to the charter. And I'll share all of my comments with you at a later time, but those are the types of cleanup actions that should be taken. There's also a stipulation of a poll tax in here, which I think should be eliminated. So,
I'm just going to share ahead of time. I'm not sure I'm comfortable with timeline coming back in for the February first meeting of the month and voting at the same time. So that just,
Well, that's, and we may not get a draft back, but that was the goal, so that we could move this forward. But it may not be, the bill may not be done in time, so that may be possible. In addition, I will also say that, as you can see, what we have changed in this was the substantive sections of the charter. When we change archaic language and things that meet the style guide, we will have to go back and do the remainder of the charter. That will be what we refer to as sort of an administrative bill rather than a substantive bill, and that will be done at a later date.
and just a reminder that the draft bill that is embedded in the agenda on the last page has the 7 bulleted substantive changes noted. Anybody else?
Just one question, Mayor. Oh, if I
Go
may.
ahead.
Are we doing all this in-house? We don't have an outside attorney reviewing this, is that correct?
We don't have an outside attorney reviewing it. We have legislative counsel in the General Assembly
I understood that.
who is drafting this with us.
Well, thank you, and thank you for doing it, is what I'm getting at.
Anybody else? If not, we're going to move along. Discuss and possible consideration of an ordinance amending chapters 88, 92, 95, and 224 relating to prohibitions. Let me pull it up here. Mark, do you want to
Sure, well, at this point, there's not too much
take the
to
lead?
say.
Go ahead.
At this point, there's not too much to say. I think that we had presented this at the last meeting. Again, in brief summary, all we're really doing is synchronizing the dates. We're not affecting parking dates or meter dates or anything like that. We're simply pulling everything together so that if the meters are on, you won't make a left turn. If the meters are on, you can't park on Queen Street after midnight. We did make a few minor changes, and Evan might want to touch on those having to do with, I think Commissioner Gossett made some good suggestions about adding vaporing and e-smoking to the smoking ordinances. And was there one other? I don't believe there was any other. The prohibition against dogs will now be the same as the parking meters. So If the parking meters are on, you cannot walk your dog on the boardwalk. So easy to remember. So, anybody have any specific questions?
Yeah, I had a question, Mayor, if I could.
Commissioner Thayer?
Yeah, so, and this question is probably for Chief Banks, and I had raised this previously about dogs on the beach when the lifeguards are still there.
But they won't be. The dates are not the same as the lifeguard dates.
But the lifeguards are there till late September.
On
That's
weekend.
my question.
Okay.
On weekends.
Right.
So, and that was my question, right? How do you, and maybe the question goes, you know, to Captain Giles, do we want dogs on the beach the same time lifeguards are there?
I think I can speak for the captain and just talk with the lifeguards what's going on. We would not, no.
Do not want them.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Commissioner Galani?
So I just wanted to voice my support for this ordinance change. You know, thinking about this in the context of participatory democracy, this was a recommendation that came out of the Streets and Safety Advisory Committee. It was unanimously passed. There was a survey that was done in the Lines in the Sand survey in 2023 that overwhelmingly supported these changes. In addition, anecdotally, in the conversations that I've had with members of the community over the course of last summer's campaign, I think this just makes a lot of sense. You know, it clears up some of the confusion that our visitors in particular experience with the variety of dates being out there. And I think getting consistency across the board between summer season versus, I think we're calling it the second season and not off season, makes a lot of sense. So I am in support of this, and you know, I hope we can get this done.
Thank you. Well, there are different components to this, so I don't know if anybody wants to break anything out and dispute it or not versus just offering a motion to
Mayor.
adopt the whole thing, and we're going to get to the public.
Yeah, Mayor, if I could, please.
Yeah, but I want to get to her after
great.
you then.
Okay, great. Yeah, so I support everything except for the dogs on the beach when the lifeguards are there.
Except dogs on the beach.
Dogs on the beach.
Let me bring that up. That's this one. Can you?
I think it's line 40, starts on line 44. Dogs or other animals prohibited on the beach.
53.
Yeah. You know, the city, Chief Banks, along with Captain Giles, have spent a lot of time over the last 3 years, you know, implementing and developing our ambassador program. And one of the reasons why we implemented that program was to enforce the code on the beach, right? Whether it was umbrellas, you know, using the correct umbrellas, whether it was to monitor alcohol use on the beach, those types of things. And the main reason why we did that is because we want our lifeguards looking at the water when they're on duty. That needs to be the focus, the safety of the bathers. And this is why I can't support dogs on the beach when the lifeguards are there, because dogs on the beach are going to become a distraction for the lifeguards, and the lifeguards need to be their eyes focused on the water. So I support everything else. If you're going to ask me to vote on this entire thing, I will vote no, because I feel very strongly about not having dogs on the beach when lifeguards are there.
Can I ask you a question, Commissioner? Are you separating beach from boardwalk?
I am willing to separate beach from boardwalk,
Okay.
yes. Okay, my concern is very specific to, I don't want lifeguards to be distracted by dogs. I want them watching the water.
So you would recommend taking section 8816 and breaking it into two components, one for beach and one for boardwalk?
I would be fine with that. If that's what the rest of the commissioners, how the rest of the commissioners feel, depending on what the public says, yeah, I would be okay with that.
Mayor? Can I ask,
Yeah.
Chief, just, how many days are, after the 15th of September, are there lifeguards? Is it only weekends? I'm sorry. Is it only weekends? Or is it not only weekends?
Is it? Yeah, it's the weekends.
So
Right now, it's
it's-
3 weekends, but it's expanded over the years. It started 1 week after, the big weekend, and then it went to 2, 3. So now this year, depending how the dates run, I think, with the counter's not in front of me, but it's like the 23rd or something like that this year.
23rd being the last date of
Some-
lifeguards.
Something around that.
So we'd
time
have 8
frame.
days
So
from the
kinda goes
5th.
longer this year, depending.
So
that's how the
possibly
calendar
8
goes.
days
Yeah,
that we have a problem
yeah.
or situation. Okay, thank you.
So, yeah.
Carolyn?
Carolyn Diefendorfer, city resident. So I think you could very easily deal with this by just having an asterisk and a component added to this that says unless lifeguards are present. When you get past the 15th, historically, there's been a very small number of lifeguards even available. So you might only have 2 or 3 streets where they're protecting. And all the streets, say, south of Wilmington, for example, aren't protected, and all the ones north of, say, Baltimore aren't protected. I mean, they have a very limited number of streets that they're even setting up on. That would be the one thing. But the worst case scenario, I agree, you can get rid of the beach and leave the boardwalk. There are so few people on the boardwalk between September 16th and September 30th, and from May 1st to May 14th. My husband has taken pictures. I know you all have seen, at least some of you have seen those pictures. There are next to no people on the boardwalk in the 2 weeks on each end that we're asking for. I can fully support them not being on the beach with the lifeguards during that time, but, that would be an easy way to go about this, is just having a little caveat that says unless lifeguards are present. Thank you.
Thank you. Collins?
Collins Roth, city resident and member of the Public Service Committee. First, thanks to Commissioner Gallant. We did for supporting this because, we put it forward, but we didn't consider this. So I don't think it's an offense to anybody on our committee to change it. But I'd also add, don't forget there are other the polar plunge, for example, there are lifeguards back on the beach, and I think it would be appropriate the dogs aren't allowed during the polar plunge on the beach, for example, for exactly the same reason that those lifeguards should be focused on lifeguarding. And so I think that caveat suggested is the right one without changing the dates. Just any time the city decides that on a random Saturday in January they want lifeguards on the beach, this should apply. So I don't think it should be date driven. It should just be when lifeguards are present, there shouldn't be dogs on the beach. Thanks.
Thank you. So, Dottie, anything? No, Kate? And back to
One last thing.
this table, yes.
I've taken a survey of the dogs, and they don't mind the lifeguards on the beach.
And I do want to note that the last weekend in September of 2026 is the 26th and 27th.
Mayor,
Commissioner Gossett?
if I am in agreement with the discussion here, and I think to try to bring this to closure or what have you, if you could look at the document beginning on line 33, if it's up there. And I think also the aspect of dogs may not remain on the beach is kind of buried in that paragraph. So if we could create this to be 88-15 dogs running at large prohibited B, and then after the beginning with the word dog, the last word dogs on 33, change that to number 4, and to say dogs may not remain on city boardwalk from May 15th through September 15th. Then point 5, dogs on any city or public beach from September 16th through May 14th may remain if they are leashed, well-behaved, obedient, well-socialized, and under direct supervision or under control of an owner or custodian. Then insert no dogs on the city beach when lifeguards are present.
You have that memorized?
I have it written down. The memory's gone, so I was thinking about this. But I think it breaks it out for the aspect so that it's not kind of buried in there. You don't read to the bottom of the paragraph. It brings it out for such an important matter that needs to be addressed and made very clear to not only our residents, but our visitors.
Well, even though there may be one or two of us that oppose one or more sections of this, probably the easiest thing to do would be to offer a motion on adoption of the entire thing with the edits that
And if I may,
Patrick proposed, and then if it fails, then we can approach some individual additional changes.
I was going to say, if I may make another suggestion here, for consistency's sake, where we're changing the dates here, also throughout this document, there are reference dates. And if I may also suggest that, I'll do this right, but the phrase May 15th through September 15th of each year inclusive, because the dates that are referenced in here kind of change a little bit here and there. So if we could use one consistent description, and that would be May 15 through September 15th of each year inclusive. And those are lines 34, 36, 48, 68, 71, 75, 84, 85, 108, 109. And then there's also an aspect that, as Commissioner Saunders had mentioned, we're talking about smoking and tobacco. In other references in our code, we talk about vaping, e-cigarettes, and marijuana. So I think it should be cross-referenced so that, again, in band-aiding this, we're band-aiding everything that is allowed. There's a couple other just changes in here or suggestions in the stamp of, we use the term main boardwalk. I don't know if we have a main or secondary boardwalk, so just boardwalk. There is, on line 94, we talk about persons prohibited from beach. Persons are prohibited from and shall not be on the beach between the hours of 1 a.m. and daybreak. Again, for consistency, I suggest changing 1 a.m. to midnight, so everything's midnight, that we have just changed other parking regulations and what have you. So again, trying to address this from consistency. Those are my anal retentive comments.
Well, I'm going to sound like the guy that always wants to defer and push these things off, but I don't care.
Mayor, if I could please.
You know, if we can clean all this up and you want to offer that, then fine, yeah, we'll take a motion on it. The cleaner thing would be to bring it back at the February meeting with all these changes in it and vote at that meeting. I have no doubt that we'll act on it at that meeting. But again, there's all these changes, so you decide which way you want to go.
Mayor, I think we'd like to settle, we're that close. We're that close.
Well, again,
I think we'd like to settle
somebody has
today.
to articulate all those changes again in a motion. Did you want to go?
Yeah, I just wanted to go back to Chief Banks. I mean, you've heard where this discussion going with boards, and you're okay? Okay, great, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
I'm comfortable moving on this, but I am curious if we could get Commissioner Gossett to restate the changes as it relates to the dates that you started with, just so that we can collectively absorb that and then make a decision.
The replacement date is the phrase May 15th through September 15th of each year inclusive. That's lines 34 through 36, line 48. Also on line 47, the striking of the word main in front of the word boardwalk. Line 70 and 71, again substituting May 15th through September 15th of each year inclusive. Line 75, again, the words May 15th through September 15th of each year inclusive. Line 84 and 85, again, substituting the words May 15th through September 15th of each year inclusive. And line 108 and 109, again, substituting the words May 15th through September 15th of each year inclusive.
So, are you done?
No.
Go ahead.
The other is the language I'll read back in a minute, but just the other main boardwalk, line 70, again, just for clarification here, change on both sides of Prospect Street. It now states from 12:01 a.m. The language in the rest of the code strikes midnight, so use the word midnight. And then the major change that I'd suggested is beginning on line 33 with the word dogs, change that to subparagraph number 4. Dogs may not remain on the city boardwalk from May 15th through September 15th inclusive. Then go to number 5 point, dogs on any city or public beach from September 16th through May 14th inclusive may remain if they are leashed, well-behaved, obedient, well-socialized, and under direct supervision and under control of an owner or custodian. No dogs on the city beach while lifeguards are present. Pets on any city property must be leashed at all times.
Can you make that to a motion?
May I make a motion of revisions as read to the ordinance to amend Chapter 88, Section 15, dogs running at large prohibited, Chapter 88, Section 16, dogs and other animals prohibited from beach, Chapter 92, Sections 34, parking prohibited on certain streets, Chapter 92, Section 143, certain turns prohibited, Chapter 95, Section 6, sleeping on beach prohibited, and Chapter 224, Section 2, smoking tobacco products prohibited on the municipal code of the city of Rehoboth Beach relating to prohibitions.
Seconded.
We have a motion and second to adopt an ordinance to amend Chapter 88, Section 15, et cetera, as presented to us with the changes made by Commissioner Gossett Incorporated. Is there any further discussion? I just want to say that I have a dog. I'm a dog person, dog lover. My dogs hate the beach. My one dog. I've always been against dogs on the beach on too long a time. The philosophy of old has always been that if the weather's warm enough, that the dog feces become a mess, and I'm still against it. However, when I remind myself that the purpose of this, one of the purpose of this is to synchronize times, I will end up voting for it. So, Commissioner, I'm trying to go in sequence. Commissioner Gossett,
Aye.
Commissioner Thier,
Yes.
Commissioner Galante,
Aye.
Commissioner Saunders.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye, the motion's carried. Thank you very much. With that, there is no old new business. Review of future meeting dates. On Monday, February 9th, we have 2 meetings. Reminder, 9 a.m. is the commissioners' meeting, 2 p.m. is the budget meeting number 2. Is there any additional citizen comment? Carolyn, Collins, Dottie, Kate, nothing? Nobody's responding. With that, we've got commissioner announcements.
Mayor, if I could.
Commissioner Thier?
This was mentioned just a few moments ago, but Polar Bear Plunge is Sunday, February 1st, 2006. I'd encourage everyone to, even if you're not going to plunge, just go out and watch.
I have participated with my wife for 24 years as a watcher. That's all. And I'll tell you, some of those watching days were painful. We got snow and ice on the beach, so thank you for the reminder. Anything else? If not, this meeting's adjourned at exactly 3:10 p.m. Thank you very much.